He talked about spiritual society and making it into a place of pilgrimage where people could come and see a spiritual society. He said, we distribute our books, but then people read their books. He said they require a place to see where the teachings of these books are actually being followed. A society of Krishna consciousness. He said this is the purpose of New Vrindavan and these communities where they come and they actually see what a society is like when they're living by the books. That combination is irresistible, and it's very powerful. And interestingly, I remember Vishnujana Maharaj used to, every time he'd come, he would tell us this. He was with Radha Damodar traveling Sankirtan. He said, we are distributing books, but then they must come to New Vrindavan and see the books in action. In a society of life of people who follow them. And actually, I remember there's a purport of Srila Prabhupada where he says that wherever there is pure devotional service to Krishna, that is none different than Goloka Vrindavan. And he said, in West Virginia, we have our community, New Vrindavan, and it is none different than Goloka Vrindavan, because everyone there is serving Krishna, with Krishna in the center. So I remember the devotees at New Vrindavan became quite proud that we are none different than Goloka. It was a really very often used point to keep people from going anywhere else. But then I saw a purport where Srila Prabhupada explains, actually it's in the same purport, it's just a little later, where he says, all of my temples are none different than Goloka Vrindavan. If Krishna is in the center. So that's what Radha Gopinath Temple, Radha Ras Bihari Temple, Radha Giridhari Temple, all the hundreds of temples of Srila Prabhupada throughout the world are meant to be. Places where people can get the association of those who are actually living like Vaishnavas. Not like Kamsas with Tilak. It's very important. What is a Vaishnav? The Srimad Bhagavatam teaches us Vaishnav behavior. The postgraduate study of Srimad Bhagavatam is Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, where we see the interactions and love between Vaishnavas. There is no false ego. I am the proprietor, I am the controller, and I am the enjoyer. There is no envy. Where someone has more or does more, and we want to tear them down because we want. And envy is so subtle. And ego is so subtle. And greed is so subtle. It could be utterly gross or meticulously subtle. So subtle that we can take our philosophy to justify it. We could take the pure philosophy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Srimad Bhagavatam and use it as a weapon to serve the interests of our ego, our envy, our greed, our lust, our illusion, our anger. And unfortunately, that is a propensity. The ahankar, the false ego, wants to be in a very elevated position. Doesn't want to admit faults. Therefore, the false ego can take the philosophy that is meant to destroy the false ego and use it to defend, like a weapon, the false ego. Birth after birth after birth after birth and after birth. Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, Lord Chaitanya says that if someone chants the holy names but is envious and criticizes others, then myself in my name will destroy that person. That's why every day in our temples we recite the 10 offenses before we chant the holy names. We shouldn't just recite. We should hear what we're reciting and understand it and analyze our own life. Are we really following? In one sense, this is what Srila Prabhupada means when he says we should be sincere. You have to be kind of humble. You have to be quite humble to actually be sincere. Because we actually have to apply the teachings in a proper way and not misuse them. Because we know the nature of the mind. Bandhuratmatmanastasya yenatmaivatmanashtita. The mind could be the best friend or the worst enemy, depending on whether we control it or let it control us. And that uncontrolled mind will use anything, including our philosophy, to justify. We twist it, we modify it as the highest, and we believe or exclaim that it's the highest truth. What a graphic example here in Srimad Bhagavatam. And it's there. Kamsa speaking perfect Vedic philosophy to justify the atrocious acts that he had done and take the blame away from himself. That tendency is in all of us. To actually understand the philosophy means transformation of our lives. Our words, our actions, our interactions with other people. And that is what is critical. Because at the time of death, how many slokas we know and how well we can propound the philosophy is not going to determine where we go. But the ego deludes us to think that other things are important. That's all that matters. Yes, we want to distribute hundreds of millions of billions of trillions of Srila Prabhupada's books. But for Krishna consciousness to really have a powerful foundation to transform the world, the devotees, we have to have a society that lives by these books, that has the character of true Vaishnavas. Srimad Bhagavatam, in many ways, so many of the stories are more about the devotee than Krishna. Because this is how Krishna is glorified. Krishna is glorified and Krishna is accessible through the life and words of the devotees. Prahlad was in a very difficult situation, as was Dhruva, as was Ambarish, as was the Pandavas, as was Rantidev, as were the Brijabasis again and again. Srimad Bhagavatam is stories of devotees, even in very, very testing situations. Their Vaishnav character. They're taking shelter of Krishna and maintaining the integrity of true devotees. Anybody can be a true devotee when everything is going just the way you like it. People like you, people appreciate you, you're successful, you're healthy, everything you do is excellent and appreciated. But when things are not going at all the way you want, that's the test of how much we've actually understood our philosophy. Are we able to put into practice, like Ambarish, like Dhruva, like Prahlad, like the Brijabasis when every day demons were coming? In every situation of Srimad Bhagavatam, these souls, they turned to Krishna. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in many ways, he summed it all up. Trinadapi sunichena taror iba sihishnana amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. Be humble like a blade of grass, more humble than a blade of grass. More tolerant than a tree, offering all respect to others and accepting none in return. It is that disposition, that attitude, that pleases Krishna. Then Krishna manifests himself in his name, and we taste that sweet nectar and we could chant the holy names. Of course, from another level, Kamsa was not simply an instrument of karma. He was a puppet in the hands of Krishna. It was Krishna's Leela to appear in the world in this way. It was his will, and Krishna orchestrated it, and he chose just the right people to play the right parts. Kamsa was a demon. It's not that he descended from the spiritual world or anything like that. He was Kalademi, he was a demon. But Krishna selected Kamsa very appropriately to be the person who was going to very much teach the world the greatest lessons of what not to do. And not what not to be. And the attitude of misusing philosophy and misusing yoga to exploit the ego. But ultimately it was Krishna's pastime. Srimad Bhagavatam. Indra's a great devotee. But somehow or other Krishna really likes to utilize him to teach the world what not to do. But still, we read in Brihad Bhagavatamrita, which is given to us by our beloved, dear God-brother Gopi Puranadana Prabhu, and His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami Maharaj. Srila Prabhupada wanted this book, Brihad Bhagavatamrita, which is like a summary of Srimad Bhagavatam by Srila Sanatana Goswami. Prabhupada wanted it for his devotees and for the world. These devotees worked years to in such a pure, faithful way to Srila Prabhupada's methodology and his spirit to bring that book to us. And for that, to our beloved God-brother Gopi Puranadana Prabhu and all of his character. He's a person who was a profound scholar of Sanskrit, a person who very much mastered our philosophy and other philosophies as well, because he studied the different commentaries. But what was his character? So many people who learned Sanskrit under Srila Prabhupada became quite proud. Janmaishwarya Shruti Shibir Edamanamadhapuman. Kunti says there are 4 prominent disqualifications to become Krishna conscious. A lot of beauty, wealth, high birth, and knowledge. Because the tendency is they make us proud. And in that proud state, we can't actually feelingly cry out Krishna's names, or really be in the spirit of a servant of the servant of the servant. So yes, there were some people who became but they became quite adept at Sanskrit. And they could go beyond to read all sorts of other literatures. And they become proud. And due to that pride, they thought they were better than others who didn't know the Sanskrit. And as soon as you start thinking that way about devotees, I'm better than the other devotees because of what I know or what I can do, then Krishna becomes displeased and he withdraws his mercy, and then you could even start thinking, I know better than my guru, I know better than Prabhupada. So most all of them fell away because of that false ego. But here was Gopi Puranadana Prabhu, who consistently studied and learned and had a deeper understanding eventually than all the others. But always humble, always faithful, always loyal, always grateful. He understood that whatever I am and whatever I know is by Prabhupada's mercy. And therefore, in every purport, in every tika or commentary of every acharya, from the core of his heart, Krishna was revealing the greatness of Srila Prabhupada's presentation and the enthusiasm to share Srila Prabhupada's mercy with the world. Rupa and Sanatana Goswami in the Bhakti Ratnakara said that Srinivasacharya's father, Chaitanya Das, he was telling Srinivas that many years ago I went to Ramakeli with my guru and I saw Rupa and Sanatana. At that time their name was Sakar Malik and Dabir Khas. They were in an assembly of the greatest scholars of the land. And among them, they were the greatest scholars. They had incredible wealth, inconceivable power. They were beautiful, like Cupid. They looked like Indra in a court. And yet, they offered all honor and respect and humble service to everyone. This combination of having opulences and being humble. Aishwaryasya samagrasya viryasya yashashashriya jnana vairagyayaschaiva. Bhagavan is one who possesses 6 opulences: beauty, knowledge, wealth, strength, fame, and detachment. Ultimately, detachment means detachment from the false ego. Every other detachment is only for the purpose of detaching ourselves from the false ego. If we're proud, all our other so-called renunciation has missed its purpose. Because at the time of death, Krishna's not really concerned with how many cars you have or whether you sleep under a tree. Krishna's concerned with how you've actually humbled yourself to cry out His holy name and to love Him and to serve Him. So the 6 Goswamis, particularly Rupa and Sanatana, Raghunath, they had everything material. But still they were humble like blades of grass. That combination is so irresistible and attractive. And we are meant to follow in the footsteps of the 6 Goswamis. So Gopi Paranadhana Prabhu, he had incredible knowledge, but eager to be the servant of the servant of the servant. Always so simple, very humble, very pure, not inclined to finding faults with others, non-envious. And it is such a loss to the world without him. Can't be calculated. But Krishna has his plan. He departed at Govardhan. Srila Prabhupada took him where ultimately he wants him. So we have these living examples. And we need these living examples in order to really go deeply into imbibing the spirit of our philosophy. Jivara Swarupoy Krishnera Nityadas. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu expounded such profound philosophy from the basic principles to the highest realms of rasa tattva to Sanatana Goswami. But as a foundation, he built it all on this simple principle, that the soul is eternally the servant of Krishna. And not only that, but he presented it to Sanatana Goswami After Sanatana Goswami presented himself as being the most fallen, the most unqualified, I don't know who I am, I don't know why I'm suffering, I don't know why I'm here. People call me a pundit, but I don't even know who I am, therefore I'm a hypocrite. He was begging, please instruct me. That was the mood of Parikshit, that was the mood of Arjuna when the Gita began. Because without that character, we can't really understand philosophy. We could memorize, we can speak. But many people who memorize and speak fall away. Along with distributing our books and doing Harinam Sankirtan and all of our preaching, we should understand that the foundational basis is practice, taking responsibility, creating a society of devotees. Not a society of people who just say they're Krishna conscious, but a society who are actually interacting with each other, interacting with the world, and interacting with Krishna according to Srila Prabhupada's teachings. Then not only the books are there, but we give people shelter. Srila Prabhupada said sometimes that anyone who thinks they could be Krishna conscious without the association of devotees is an illusion. So we need that association. But we want to create an association that will uplift our faith and our enthusiasm and inspire us to go deeper into the qualities of Vaishnavism. When we distribute a book, when we speak about Krishna, the attitude is not, I'm better than you and I have something I want to give you. Prabhupada gave us the attitude that as your servant, I'm giving you this book, I'm speaking Krishna consciousness to purify myself. And to also be an instrument of Prabhupada's compassion to purify you. It's not about me. It's not about you. It's about Krishna. It's about Srila Prabhupada. We're simply meant to be instruments, recognizing and meditating on where the power is coming from. Otherwise, punar mushtaka bhava. Srila Prabhupada has made little mundane mouses into spiritual lions. But if we think it is about me, I am saving the world, then eventually again become a mouse. Srila Prabhupada prayed to be a puppet on the Jaladuta. Our prayer is to be the puppet of the puppet of the puppet. That's the safe position. Thank you very much.